What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we kind of talking about how to upgrade your deck that you're currently playing with, whether it's you're playing, one of the free-to-play decks from the starter decks, or if you built your own deck but you're looking to kind of figure out how to upgrade. We're going to be using my example of my free-to-play deck on my free-to-play account. So we're here on the free-to-play account today on the channel. So we're kind of talking a little bit more about kind of like how to go about upgrading and kind of figuring things out. With that being said, guys, if you like the video, hit that like button. It definitely helps out a lot. If you're new here, want to know post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. But with that being said, let's dive into the deck building, kind of the upgrading process, and let's talk about it. So first and foremost, you kind of look at your deck lists overall in the MTG Arena client, whatever you're playing on phone or on desktop. And you can overall see the different decks that you have unlocked on your particular account. As you kind of see here, we have all the basic color challenge decks, as well as we have a few of the newer starter decks as we've kind of unlocked them on the channel. I think I've unlocked 4 of them. I've kind of I haven't played the account as much because I don't want to overplay it. And I'm also trying not to do too much on the account per se when I'm not recording or streaming it. But we have 4 of the decks, so that's definitely very good there. Here, we also have our particular Witherbloom deck that you've seen me play on the channel. If you've ever catched one of my Saturday morning streams, I do here every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And this is kind of the deck that I built with all the currency that I earned from unlocking, the color challenges decks, as well as open the 35 free packs I kind of got from entering all the redeemed packs, which I have in a different video if you want to check that out. But this is the current deck that I currently have. But the idea here is we kind of want to go about how do we figure out how to upgrade our deck. Me knowing kind of when I imported this deck, I kind of had to cut some cards, and in those cards I had to cut were the removal cards because the removal that I wanted to add into the deck, they were uncommons, and I didn't have enough uncommons to actually particularly craft those cards, and I wanted to craft the key components of my deck to kind of make this style of deck work. And a lot of those key cards are things like Witherbloom Apprentice, which is uncommon, Village Rites, Eye Twitch, and things like that, Bastion of Remembrance. This is a lot of things that kind of make this Witherbloom style deck if you haven't played it or have seen it. These are things that help you kind of make the deck do what it's supposed to do. So the first thing and foremost is I know the removal is kind of lacking. The other thing too is, there's some weird things that I do feel like I kind of added in Blex, because I had some mythic wild cards. In a way, I was okay with using them to kind of have him in the deck to kind of, because I had lack of removal, my idea was, well, I'll add Blex in because he makes my pests and bats a little bit more aggressive. So with the lack of removal, I can be more aggressive against my opponent. He gives all my creatures that are pests or bats, insects or snakes, +1/+1, which we have. So it makes him a little bit better. And if he does die, we gain 4 lives, so we can always sacrifice him to our overall deck idea. So he's kind of in here because our deck's a little bit on the aggressive side because of the lack of removal. The other thing too that I do have over time is I do have some of these, some of the rare lands like the pathways, and I also have, I think I have 1 snarl in the deck. But over time, I want to upgrade these lands into the untapped lands, so more pathways, and then more snarls, and the kind of the balance of the swamps and the forest in that way. I have a couple various things in here. Color Ritual is an interesting card, but I don't really know if it works in the current format. If I get matched up against a very aggressive deck that plays a lot of small creatures, it's not bad, but it also destroys all our creatures with that are 2 or less. So definitely not the best win-win because, things like our Witherbloom Apprentice is okay, but we want to keep him on the battlefield because we want to take advantage of his Magecraft ability. Sedgemoor Witch is okay because she doesn't die to that, but a lot of our deck is kind of on the cheaper side, so we don't want a card that's going to eliminate our whole bottom end unless you can really, ping our opponent for enough damage by playing this one card. We have enough Bastions out and things like that. So we definitely know our removal is kind of lacking. Our lands are a little bit on the tap side. So we have 2 different areas that we definitely want to improve upon. I do think there's some cards that we can kind of tweak numbers wise or remove completely and add in other things, kind of making the deck play a little bit smoother. So that's kind of the mindset of where I want to go. And before I do that, the one thing I would recommend is, so before I go in and craft any particular deck, I usually go and click on the deck that I'm about to upgrade because we always want to have the original copy because we're still playing that currently on the account. And what we want to do here is we want to click on the deck so it's now slightly open. And we go down here, we hit the clone button. What this does will now make a clone of the deck, and this is the one we're going to work in. I kind of already went ahead and I kind of already crafted the upgraded version of the deck. But, we actually have, you want to make a copy if you want to, mess around with some of the starter decks or some of the, other starter decks you unlock as you play. I would recommend doing this because you never want to get rid of like the original deck if you ever want to play it. Also, if you're Also, we crafted our upgraded version. We have cards we're missing. As you kind of see here, I'm missing 2 uncommons and 5 rares. So we don't want to, we're not going to be able to play this version, so we don't want to mess around with the original version. So, as you can kind of see here is the deck. It kind of looks exactly the same. I mean, nothing too crazy has happened in the deck. The one thing I will say is we do have a little bit in the way of more of removal. You kind of see I did get rid of that other 4-drop spell. Because our deck, to be quite honest, is more on the cheap side. Our deck overall isn't super expensive. Most of the cards in our deck are 3 or less. Mortality Spear, you could say, is a cheaper spell because every time we gain life, it actually allows us to it makes this card cheaper, so it makes it cost a green and a black. So overall, the deck isn't much different than what we wanted to do, but like I said, I kind of increased certain things and kind of swapped some things out to kind of make the deck feel play a little bit more consistent. So as you can see here, I added in 2 copies of Eliminate because the format does, if you are playing ranked or playing a lot of the current meta format, there's a lot of decks that play a lot of cheap creatures. So having something like this, that's a 2-mana removal spell that destroys target creature or planeswalker with a convert mana cost 3 or less, definitely very good to have. We also have Heartless Hack because this kind of destroys anything as long as it doesn't have a counter on it, or if the creature has a counter or +1/+1 counters, whatever it is, we can remove up to 3 counters from target creature. But usually we're using this as like the bigger removal if your opponent's playing something really big and it's kind of in your way. The other thing I actually went ahead is I added in additional copies of Sedgemoor Witch because my main deck only has 3 copies, but this is a card we really want to get out of. It's not legendary, so having multiple copies of this on the battlefield is also very good because she's going to be the one who's going to be producing our pest tokens in a very consistent way because we do play a balance of spells and we also play a balance of creatures. So the idea here is we want to have as many ways to make pests as possible, so having more copies of her going to more consistently draw her in our games to hopefully then get more pests. As you kind of see here, I added in Lovestruck Beast and I also added in Woe Strider. This is a card you get from one of the black-red starter deck, the Line of Fire one. So we have the 1 copy that we do actually own for free, so we don't have to actually get in here. This is also pretty good because if it does end up in our graveyard, we can always pay 5. This is good in that rogue matchup. We have ways to then escape it from our graveyard. Gets 2 +1/+1 counters on it because it comes back as a 5/4 for 5 mana, which isn't too bad. And this is just another card that we can always, tap, use its ability, sacrifice another creature. We get a scry ability out of it. Definitely very good in that way. And we also have Lovestruck Beast. It has an adventure ability, which is I think from Throne of Eldraine if you're not too familiar with the set. So the card actually has 2 abilities. We can pay 1 mana, we create a 1/1 white human creature token. We also can pay 3 mana, we get the 5/5 creature that's physically actually the card. Now the one thing here is it can't attack unless we control 1/1. All our deck does is produce 1/1 pest tokens, so we have many ways to kind of make it sure that this thing can attack pretty much every single turn that it is on the battlefield, unless our opponent wipes out all our 1-drops. But overall, pretty good card, definitely a good value, definitely good synergy with our Magecraft on our Witherbloom Apprentice. So those are some key cards there. The other thing too is you can see that I actually added in 4 copies of the Snarls. Not sure why I didn't add in the 1 extra copy of the Pathway. Probably just drop off a Swamp and add an additional Pathway, which is always a very good there. Just 1 more copy of Village Rites for the consistency. Went down on an eye twitch. Also went down on the Hunt for Specimens. Just because I do think the deck has a decent amount of draw that will draw one of our learn spells at some point so we can actually learn. A card that I'm missing from my learn spell is actually, I believe it's Necrotic Fumes is what I want to, if I can spell. I don't have any copies of it, but what we want to do is we want to actually add, 2 copies of this into our sideboard. If you're not sure what Necrotic Fumes does, let me get this back up. And essentially what Necrotic Fumes is as additional cost to cast a spell, exile to a creature we control, then we get to exile target creature or planeswalker. So it's just more removal that we can actually target. And what I'd probably just do here is I'd probably get rid of the Annihilation and I'd probably get rid of 1 Pest Summon in, so we can stay in that 7 sideboard cards that we can use from our learn spells. And then we just have multiple ways to kind of go and dig into our sideboard to kind of get a card depending on the situation overall. But like I said, I knew what areas that I need to kind of improve upon in the deck that I did create. And I kind of went ahead and I did so. I mean, I already kind of went ahead and made an upgraded version of the deck. I do think our version is slightly different than my upgraded version I even crafted here on the channel, but the link will be for it in the description. And this is kind of the mentality that I'm using for this community post I did, where I kind of had you guys submit your your decks that you guys are playing, and you guys either sent it to me here on the community post on my community tab. You guys either emailed me, tweeted at me, or sent me a message on Instagram. I actually don't know what it's called other than a DM. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this mentality when I kind of build your decks, kind of get an idea of what your overall core strategy is, and kind of go about and try to figure out how to tweak those decks, kind of give you some tidbits on maybe where to improve on those decks. But guys, with that being said, if you liked the video, hit that like button. If you're new here, want to post new videos on the channel, hit that subscribe button. But with that being said, I'll see you in the next Magic the Gathering video.